It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. It's Topic Thunder. I'm Brooks. That's Ben, and welcome back to what we call the Thunderdome and the world's most dangerous chat room, brought to you live on the various streaming platforms, Twitch, YouTube. There are little Facebooks popping up here and there. Osiris Ra stopped in last week on Facebook, and again, just if you're just new to the show, just joining us, Twitch seems to be the best option as far as seeing everybody else's comments in the world's most dangerous chat room. So otherwise,
over there on the screen as well. I know it's a little bit hard to read sometimes. So some of I've been trying to do a better job of pulling some of the better ones out and putting them underneath on this little bar that I put underneath the screen here that I think classes up the place a little bit. So yeah. Keep the comments coming. Yes, you are dangerous, Courtney. The whole chat room is dangerous.
It's quite the dangerous mind. And yeah, and the reason we say that up front and put it out there right now is because the best part of the show is you guys in the chat room, and what we kind of just throw some topics out there, and we have an honest conversation, kind of like you would in a saloon, which is what we call ourselves, the Internet Saloon. So everybody kind of belly up to the bar and enjoy a drink, shall ya? So welcome to, well, we're just going to call it the Drink Lab again. So Gigi's not involved this time, ladies and gentlemen, but this is the third of 3 gifts from Wifo Supreme. Wifo Supreme, which now actually sounds like a soup.
Wifo Supreme, yes. Wifo Supreme.
Would you like the minestrone or the Wifo Supreme? Oh, definitely the Wifo Supreme.
I've heard great things about the Wifo.
I've come here exclusively for the Wifo Supreme. Anyway, the third of 3 lovely birthday gifts that she provided for me, and this is a bourbon from Seagrass, Barrel Seagrass, and the trick to this bourbon is it's rye whiskey finished in Martinique rum, Madeira, and apricot brandy barrels. So getting pretty wild and crazy stuff out there regarding what they're doing in the liquor departments these days. But
we have to go. Of course, how many Brooks Bolts? We will a Brooks Bolts proclamation.
Yeah, and this will well, there's a nice little pop. It's a nice little treat to have them like I think there's probably like 2 ounces, maybe 2.5 ounces,
cool,
maybe 3. And it's in like one of those little canning jars, right? So it's a nice little treat. It has a piece of tape on top with the name of what it is and everything. But there it is on the website for everybody to see. Let's get the bouquet. Oh yeah, Ben. The floor is yours, sir. While I enjoy this.
Yeah. Please, while you imbibe. Yes, I did get a chance to fly on a private plane from Lubbock to Dallas to attend the final round of the Byron Nelson AT&T Byron Nelson Open PGA Tour golf tournament that was in Dallas. It was awesome. It was incredibly hot, like unbearably hot. You couldn't enjoy going out and following around the golfers because it was so ridiculously hot. So luckily, I was lucky enough to have access to a suite, and along with that suite came a lot of really good food. Oh, it looks like that you're rocked, my friend.
You like rum?
You are rocked.
Wow. Do you like a little rum with your whiskey?
Speaking of rocked, there was free alcohol as well, and I had many Michelob Ultras and sweated out a lot of them, but the alcohol remained, and it was a great time. And then for the first time in at least 8 years, I threw up everywhere. Drinking too much alcohol. I did that. I did that in public and in the bathroom at Saltgrass after between the end of the tournament when we were getting on the plane. I was sitting there. We're all at the bar and everybody's ordering, and I'm like, I'm not saying anything to anybody because there's no way I'm going to let them know that's what's going on, right? But in my head, I'm having this conversation with myself where I'm like, man, I don't feel so. No lightweight. I am a total light when it comes to drinking. Admittedly, I can't drink anymore. I'm a complete fucking lightweight, and that's what my conversation is. Myself. I'm sitting there at the bar, and I'm like, I'm fucking up.
Ben broke the Michelob Ultra barrier, is what he did.
Yeah, and it's like what? And this, I'm sitting there going, I don't feel good. I think I'm going to throw up. I think I need to throw up. I think I'll feel better if I throw up. And this is the conversation going on in my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go throw up. And so everyone's chatting or whatever. And I just quietly get up from my chair, walk into the bathroom and look and see. Yeah. From beer nose. I know I'm a fucking lightweight. I suck. And I go in the bathroom, look around, make sure no one's in there. Ugh! 5 times. I had to flush so what happens was I throw up, then I see the throw up, and that makes me throw up. And then it's just a fucking chain reaction. I had to flush the toilet 5 times. That's how much throw up I had.
What did you eat, boy?
A lot of beef tenderloin and mashed potatoes and all kinds of goodies. Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently, and I didn't know this until I got in my later years, Mr. V, and thanks for joining the program. That they saw it. It was like a forced thing. I didn't know that about that until my 30s. Until somebody it was just like, oh yeah, if you're just go ahead and throw up, you'll feel better. Like, what? I don't participate in this, and that particular like forcing yourself to.
Oh, don't force yourself. But if you have to, just let it rip. Because you will feel better.
You will, and in just about every case, unless you're really sick and just retching everywhere out of some poor virus or disease. But yeah, alcohol, you kind of brought it on yourself. You deserve it, but you do actually, I guess, feel better, right? That's enough about that, right?
About me growing up and being a lightweight. More of you giving Brooks bolts to Barrel Seagrass. What do you think?
This is I'm trying to see what the the proof on this is, because this is nothing short of intense, and there's nothing wrong with it. Oh fuck me, it's 119.3 proof.
Damn.
That explains it, because I was gonna say the only thing that hit me as hard as this hit me, admittedly experienced liquor drinker.
Yeah.
The only thing that ever hit me that hard up front right away was the homemade vodka that one of my cousins, third removed or second or third cousins in Poland, made on their family farm.
Wow.
So yeah, okay, that's
the part is that you'll be able to go back and watch your face, because your face tells a great story when you take that shot. It is very apparent that alcohol punches you right in your fucking teeth as soon as you take it. It was great. Your reaction was just like, whoa, your eyes are blinking and shit. It was great. Yes, and the best part is recorded, so you get to go back and look at it all over again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How many bolts?
I did Brooks bolts. This should all right. This is not a drink, right? This is something that you should probably cut with. But man, if you're going to have a glass of this, that's all you're gonna have. At least, I mean, you're not walking around, I'll have another, because it's not. First of all, it's not going to come out like that. And then by surely the second sip of the second one, you're just going to be on the floor somewhere, like doing Humpty dance on the floor, which is all wrong. So I actually, I'm going to take some point, at least a half a point away for like that level of like drinkability, at least straight.
Right. It's just too powerful.
It's again, now I'm somebody that would like a different variety.
No lightweight when it comes to this.
Well, I think a couple of drinks isn't a bad thing to be able to survive.
Right.
It's but honestly, I'm not a huge fan of rum. I don't get the rum thing. So you can get the sweetness of it for sure on this. So I get that the apricot is there too, but that's even more of like a kind of citrusy, sour kind of fruit too, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna give this a 3.5.
Okay, it's fair.
I like it.
Right.
It's just, am I gonna go like looking for this? This is probably Wifo Supreme. This is the most disappointing of the 3 lovely gifts you just
Yeah, and
gave
it's
me.
like,
Just to let you know,
yeah, it's like, what's the worst piece of jewelry you got?
right?
There you go. Michael V says rum is only good with a mixer. There you go, and he would know. He's another expert on the subject.
That's okay. So that get the tiki bar thing going on, right? That I appreciate a nice rum, but like, yeah, I don't think I've ever had rum straight up. Maybe I need to fix that. Maybe I need to change that. Maybe we all need to have a drink night and just make it. People have book clubs. Fuck that noise.
Probably puking on the air, Brooks. We already know how this ends for me.
I love it, pro. Oh, the screwball. The peanut butter whiskey. I pass it up all the time. I don't know if I can go there. Like I've already.
I don't like whiskey.
I've already set my bar lower than I normally would with Fireball, and
No,
that's out of deference for
everyone.
some sort of bastard history with a good friend. I don't know if I can do the screwball peanut butter whiskey. I think that might be a line in the sand, or maybe I just need to be 3 sheets in and just like, okay, whatever, Brooks time, go.
Yay!
And then I'll end up in the bathroom and telling a story just like Ben did, which is no way to segue into the top story that not only you can't escape, we should all be talking about, we should still be talking about, we should never stop talking about until this problem at its root has been resolved, and are many roots. But of course, over the weekend, we as a country, as a nation, several of our friends, relatives, loved ones, coworkers suffered a loss greater on a social scale than some of us couldn't ever truly imagine. When gunmen in Buffalo obviously opened fire and murdered a score of people, 10 specific Black people, and we all know where this goes. We don't need to talk about. I'm not even going to say his name. We know an AR-15 was involved. We know he was trained. We know he was wearing bulletproof vest. He was wearing tactical gear. A
security guard tried to stop him, and he just took the bullets and kept going.
Yeah, apparently like one got him, but was stopped by the body armor this 18-year-old was able to acquire. And all while live streaming it.
Yeah.
While posting manifestos and warning signs aplenty. And I don't know much about the gentleman. I don't know what the family's like. I don't know what type of environment he grew up in, but we need to start having an honest conversation and a brutal conversation about what it means to be, pardon me for being able to say this in the room, but being a white person in America now, because it's far past the time for us to stop saying it's not my fault. Of course it's not your fault. Nobody alive today had anything to do directly with slavery or the treatment of African Americans up until this point, right? So let's just stop this idea as Caucasians, Nordics, as we'll get into in a little bit, the idea that it's our fault. Of course it's not our fault. I will counter that with, it is our responsibility to do something about it. We have a choice every, not only election cycle, which now we're looking at, everybody thought the 22 election midterm were going to be big. Now they're even bigger. The stakes are even that much higher. But now we have to have an honest conversation with ourselves about what we need to do to fix this, because this is untenable, right? We can't keep doing this. We can't keep going over the same situation.
If for for me, Brooks, I am past the point of exhaustion with these stories, right? Because if you've known me for any period of time on social media, I have been fucking screaming for now well over a decade about how fucking ridiculous and dangerous white supremacists are in this country. I have been told for over a decade now, and gun control. You know, white supremacists and gun control. Those two things I have been screaming about and saying, and to a point where it's probably cost me friendships with people that this is a serious issue, and I've been told over and over again, oh, it's just a small percentage, a small pocket of people, and they're if you don't pay attention to them, it won't matter, and you know, just if you just let them say whatever they want to say on the internet somewhere, you know, none of this stuff will happen. And it's like, no, all of this stuff still happens, even though this guy, there was plenty of fucking warning signs with this guy. He was on, from what I understand, watch lists with law enforcement. I mean, if he was had an online diary, as the headline said from the AP, that a gunman plotted the attack for months. If we have this access to data and we have this access to people's information, right? We trade that with the idea that when it comes to shit like this is what you will use it for. You
Right.
will use the invasion of our privacy to ferret out these assholes and put them on a list and start tracking them. And when suddenly he buys an AR-15, and then suddenly he gets in his car and starts fucking driving way out of fucking town, we know what's happening, and law enforcement can react. That's what I mean, isn't it, when we say we'll give up our data, it's with the hopes that it's going to be used for something like this. And the cynical parts of us, we know it's not going to be. And this is just another piece of evidence to feed that cynicism. We don't have any interest in using that data to stop crime, because ultimately there are too many people that benefit financially and otherwise and politically from these tragedies, right? And so it's exhausting. Something needed to be done 25 fucking tragedies like this ago, and everyone, you hope this is the one, right? And for police brutality, it looked like a couple of summers ago we had that finally that breakthrough moment with Foster, with the the name's drawing a blank at this moment. The guy in Minneapolis.
Oh, George Floyd.
George Floyd. Excuse me. I was gonna say Foster. I knew that wasn't right, so I didn't want to. George Foster's a former baseball player. But what I was saying is, that seemed to be like the breaking point to get something done, because legislation was passed and that made changes because of that incident. I don't know that we're ever going to get. Sandy Hook didn't get anything done. Children died. Small children died in their school, and we didn't do anything. Why would we do anything now?
I'd like to take a second and pump the brakes on the mentally ill thing. This was not the act of let me take that back. This was premeditated, right? This guy planned it out. This guy talked it out. This guy ran a practice route. That's not normally the action of what you would think a mentally ill person would do. That it was a spontaneous event. This was planned. This was plotted. The dude, sure, subscribing to some sort of mental illness, he wrote a 180-page manifesto going into all sorts of fun stuff about race relations here in America, which we're gonna get to.
Yeah.
But Ben, didn't last week we talk about another weird white dude that wrote a loved lecturing a different class of people about how they should be living their lives? What is it with weird white people? Sorry, I'm angry today with the people that look like me, and I should be, because again, there's a good portion of the country that constantly lives in a state of fear that I am oblivious to, and I'm sick and tired of it too. I want to talk about what a former Buffalo fire commissioner. Think about this. This dude's a fire commissioner, which means you probably started at the ground up and made your way, especially in a town like Buffalo, a hardworking blue collar town renowned for its, grinded out kind of people. His name is Garnell Whitfield Jr. He lost his 86-year-old mother, Ruth Whitfield, in the shooting. And he was asked how the country could allow its history of racist killings to repeat itself. He said, "We're not just hurting, we're angry. We treat people with decency. We love even our enemies. And you expect us to keep doing this over and over and over and over again, forgive and forget, while people we elect and trust in offices across this country do their best not to protect us, not to consider us equal?" This is a man who spent his life serving people, that gave into the system, risked his life probably countless times, thankless times. And he feels that way about the country in which he lives, that he gave his life willingly to help strangers who probably felt that this guy wasn't American enough because of how he looked.
So, and not only is it, I don't want to stop. Go ahead.
No. The problem with this is because it's so multifaceted, right? There's gun control involved here. There is the checks and balances in law enforcement and data collection, right? There is the tinge of the mental illness thing. There is clearly the pattern of racism here, right? But I'm more focused on, and hear me out on this.
What the root of this guy's fucking issue was, I know we're going to get into it. I think that's where you're going. What the real root of this guy's fucking issue was plain to see, and was building for a long time.
And we're just starting to see the fruits of that effort. We're going to get into it in just a little bit, but I wanted to give at least a little bit of kudos for New York's governor for calling out social media companies after the Buffalo shooting, because this dude live streamed his rampage, and at least 2 minutes made it on the Twitch before Twitch pulled the plug. Right?
That's a weird one, and I get it, but like as a show that is airing right now on Twitch, and many of our viewers are on Twitch, it is a platform where I don't blame Twitch for this guy abusing the platform. It's not their fault he abused the platform, and as soon as they were made aware of it, within 2 minutes, they had it taken down. So I find it very hard to be critical of Twitch in this instance. Like it does a lot more good than harm.
The governor just wants some answers, and let me quote her. Quote, I want them to sit in the room, look me in the eye, and tell me that they have done everything humanly possible to make sure that you're monitoring this content the second it hits your platform. If you're not, then I'm going to hold you responsible. So prove to me that there is nothing else that can be done, which is a responsible thing to ask.
Okay, that's not unfair. That's not an unfair act.
My point is that why are you stopping at social media? Why? Just because he aired this on Twitch?
Right.
Let's just cancel the word social from that. And have you seen what's going on Fox News?
Oh man. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. This guy was, I don't know if groomed is the right word for
Indoctrinated.
it. Indoctrinated is probably the right word for it.
Groomed too. I mean, this is just the first of the Kyle Rittenhouse generation, right?
We're about to get into the Great Replacement theory.
So this is what the murderer in Buffalo wrote so eloquently in his 180 some odd page manifesto, that at the root of his concern is that there are too many non-white people coming into America to replace the white Americans as the voters and electorate, and then basically, I don't know, vote themselves equal rights, which is an awful thing to think about.
Yeah, great. This is an exact way I kept this. I saw this and I took a screenshot of it, because I wanted to keep it for like this type of moment on the show here. He says, quote, "If there's one thing I want you to get from these writings, it's that white birth rates must change. Every day, the white population becomes fewer in number. To maintain a population, the people must achieve a birth rate that reaches replacement fertility levels in the Western world that is about what is that? 2.06 births per woman," end quote. And then he goes on to say, "I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter will become literally hysterical if they use the term replacement. If you suggest the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots with new people, more obedient voters from the third world," he said in April 2021, "but they become hysterical because that's what is happening actually."
Now that's actually Tucker Carlson, and I have that. Actually, I have that video.
That's from the manifesto, isn't it?
That's a quote from. Apparently, this manifesto, much like many manifestos, is just copy and paste. Because to get to your weak-minded stuff, when you mentioned that, Mr. Ryan Hansen, for sure, absolutely. But we also have to consider, first of all, this kid's 18 years old, right? It's not. It doesn't even have a fully formed mind to begin with. And it's not like somebody just showed him this stuff yesterday, and he said, "Okay, let's go." He's been fed this from somebody or many people for years. When we say groom, we don't mean just like, oh, he got into to replacement theory 6 months ago. That's why I was asking about his parents. Like, we need to know a little bit more about what circles they traveled in.
Yes, 100%. This is definitely a learned ideology, and this is very likely something that was fomented by his parents. 100.
So learn from where? Because they're certainly not teaching this necessarily in textbooks in schools. Not the replacement theory, but the way they kind of dart around critical race theory is a whole nother conversation and a wormhole we're not going to dive into at this particular juncture. But where did they learn it from? Everybody's favorite medium right now, TV, right? One particular channel in general, and we're going to go right to it, right? These people's very words.
Because in some parts of the country, it does seem like the America that we know and love doesn't exist anymore. Massive demographic changes have been foisted upon the American people. And they're changes that none of us ever voted for, and most of us don't like. From Virginia to California, we see stark examples of how radically, in some ways, the country has changed. Now, much of this is related to both illegal and, in some cases, legal immigration that, of course, progressives love. Because in some parts of the country...
Sorry. Legal immigration is a problem all of a sudden, too?
That's right out of the stuff fucking Stephen Miller playbook right there. Legal immigration is bad, too. It's Stephen Miller. We would talk. That's what's so crazy is that this wrapped around and came back up in the news because we talked about this and with Stephen Miller and this whole white replacement theory ideology and idea months ago and made fun of how ridiculous it was because it is ridiculous. But then you see dumb Laura Ingraham out there fucking spewing the fucking nonsense that and what I think is so crazy about this narrative is that why does it never occur to you that why are immigrants going to vote Democrat?
And they'd have to self-actualize, right?
You'd have, but
that's not happening.
So instead of coming up with policies that would be attractive to immigrants, instead of that, you just rather keep them out because you know they're not going to vote for you, and espouse this theory that the liberals and the Democrats are trying to replace you with voters that they know are going to vote for them. Never self-analyzing for one fucking second. Why are they not voting for you? Isn't that, as a politician, isn't that your job number one? Is to figure out how to get the most amount of people to agree with you?
No, it's actually to create policy that entices people
True.
to want to follow you, not
Right.
just figure out, because that's part of the problem, right? They figure out the quickest way to get people to vote for you, right? Create policy that gets people to be this guy or gal. They know their shit, and they're out there doing our work. They're attending town hall meetings, virtual or otherwise. They're going door to door. Like I can't. We're taking a little bit of a segue here, but I can't speak enough about the current alderman of my former ward, the 40th ward of Chicago, Andre Vasquez, because the dude like walks the block. His offices are right there in the ward. He's there every day. Absolutely cool. Not only cool, like, but grew up as a hip hop artist here in Chicago, a house artist and a hip hop artist, and got into politics. Like he's got a very, very cool centristic left democratic socialist mindset. Just take care of people. They'll vote for you then. If you do your job and take care of people, they'll want to vote for you. Again, different segue, different conversation, right? But where did this all come from? Ben Shapiro has a take on history, and I know he's your friend of the show, Ben Shapiro, right here, right? This was Ben Shapiro quote, tweet. If you want to be accurate about the Great Replacement theory, it is a conspiracy theory about Jewish elites shipping in minorities to change the racial stock of a country. That is precisely what the Buffalo shooter says, and it is echoed by neither political party. Christian Vanderbroek reminded Mr. Shapiro that in January 27th of just this year, Tucker Carlson said George Soros is a billionaire currency trader who has spent decades waging a demographic war in the West. So, Mr. Shapiro, who are you crapping? And thanks for joining the show, Mr. Whack. And I think I saw Mr. Davis. I don't know if we've seen you before here. Maybe once or twice. Mr. Davis, thanks for pulling up a chair at the Internet Saloon here, right? We're not done with Tucker Carlson because he seems to be the biggest influencer here.
Oh, dude. Because yes, he has been espousing this fucking nonsense for at least a few years. I mean, he is above and beyond. He is the fucking town crier of this nonsense.
And a lot of people in the show have a similar or at least somewhat of kind of like a parallel mindset here on this, which is always appreciated. But I also like the other opinions too. I don't know how you don't sit there and watch this and say, yeah, this guy's making a call to violence in a very thin veiled way, whether you want to admit it or not. Whether you sit there and watch this video again, Mr. Carlson, and say to yourself, well, that's not what I really meant. Here's what you said.
Gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement. If you suggest the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it. That's true. We've never seen demographic change like this. It's roughly the equivalent of a brand new city of Chicago every year, a city populated entirely by poor people with limited education who can't speak English.
And pause it right there for 1 second, please, if you don't mind it. First of all, Tucker Carlson, go fuck yourself. The city of Chicago isn't full of poor people.
Right.
All right. We happen to be an economic capital of the Midwest. And if you take a look at all of the states that actually make money and don't take government subsidies more than they actually earn, Illinois is one of the only ones in this part of the nation here that's in the black, so to speak, as far as the accounting goes. And I don't know why I'm particularly pissed about the Chicago pride thing. But go fuck yourself, Tucker Carlson, for amongst a billion other different things.
Yeah, right.
But like for smearing the city of Chicago because, I don't know, man, whatever you think is going on here.
Good for America. Where exactly is all this criminal white supremacy, this right-wing domestic terrorism that poses, quote, the most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland? Or is it? Well, of course, it doesn't exist.
And those are just a few examples.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Cocksucker.
It doesn't exist.
He is clearly and obviously, and we've dove into Tucker Carlson before and exposed the fact that he is putting on a show. right? He is really a liberal, putting on a conservative shtick to gain ratings and popularity, because he loves being popular. He loves being on other people's shows. He loves having his own show. He loves having a name that everyone knows and recognizes. And much like in the Candace Owens way, is a path that if you can be a conservative voice, you can gain a little traction doing some dog whistles, or like Gigi pointed out, bullhorns in this case, and become very popular. And it is financially advantageous to be ultra right wing and say the things that those guys, those white supremacists, would love to say and want to hear someone on TV say, and they will tune in and they will share his content on social media and all those things. And he's a media attention hua. And so, but it's not surprising that shit that he was spouting on fucking television led to someone shooting up someplace. It's
quoting him in his manifesto of why he killed those people. And you're absolutely right, Michael V, to put yourself in that mind of somebody who has already been groomed from whatever age, that, you know, they're coming to get you, you know, they're flooding the border, we need a wall, blah, blah, blah. That whole mindset, you grew up, he was 18. Let's just say you just been experiencing it for the last 8 years. And it's been magnified over the last 6. All right. You see a guy like Tucker Carlson every effing night talking like this. Yeah. You feel threatened. You feel like your homeland's threatened. Hitler did that with the Nazis.
Yes.
In Germany.
Yeah. Yeah.
And other dictators are notorious for grooming people in their position to make them feel like they're the victim, right? So that's what happened, and most likely, of course, we're just kind of speculating here. The same way they list him as a suspect, right? Which is another thing that just kind of gets my hair up by cracky. This idea that he's the suspect. He live streamed it on his verified accounts. Hey, does that account belong to him? Yeah. Was that him? Yeah. Is that his account? Yeah. Okay, he's guilty. Oh, we don't want to taint the jury pool. He was live streaming his murder streak. The fact that he even pleaded non-guilty is a farce.
Right, is a slap in the face of the justice system. Right, like he was even allowed to be. The fact that he was even allowed to plead not guilty is like, what are you doing? You're making a fucking joke of this. But really quick on Tucker, there's a 0% chance that he goes on his show and bears any responsibility.
No, it'll be Joe Biden's fault.
How he'll even cover the show, or how he'll even cover the incident. We should check in with that next week and see how he covers this story. It'll be very interesting to see how he tiptoes around the fact that he is at the fucking center of this.
Well, and this is not new by any stretch of the imagination. Let me follow this and try to wrap and bring this conversation to somewhat of a close, because there are other things to talk about and there's some fun stuff to talk about. But where did this all come from, right? Let me introduce you to a gentleman by the name of Madison Grant, who wrote a book called The Passing of the Great Race in 1916. Let me quote 2 paragraphs for you. The new immigrants were no longer exclusively members of the Nordic race, as were earlier ones who came of their own impulse to improve their social conditions. The transportation lines advertised America as the land of flowing with milk and honey, and the European governments took that opportunity to unload upon careless wealthy, the hospitable America, the sweepings of their jails and asylums. The result of it was the new immigration, while it still included an increasing number of the weak, the broken, the mentally crippled of all races, drawn from the lowest stratum of the Mediterranean basin and the Balkans, together with the hordes of the wretched, submerged population of the Polish ghettos.
What is with old-timey writers and run-on fucking sentences? Jesus, I've never heard of a period.
This is the one that gets me. There's 2 paragraphs here, so bear with me here. With the pathetic and fatuous belief in the efficacy of an American institutions and environment to reverse or obliterate immemorial hereditary tendencies, these newcomers were welcomed and given a share in our land and prosperity. The American taxed himself to sanate and educate these poor helots, and as soon as they could speak English, encouraged them to enter into the political life, first of municipalities, then of the nation. Hang on to your butts for this next one. The result is showing plainly in the rapid decline in the birth of Native Americans. First of all, let's take
That's
time
not,
out.
they're not
Whitey.
talking about Native American.
Let's talk. Let's break the whole fucking train right there, Whitey. Native Americans, you have no right to say, right? Because this dude was probably in 1916, probably 3 generations out from his own family's travel across the sea. Anyway, Native Americans, because of the poor classes of colonial stock, where they still exist, will not bring children into the world to compete in the labor market with the Slovak, the Italian, the Syrian, and the Jew. There we go. The Native American is too proud to mix socially with them and is gradually withdrawing from the scene, abandoning to these aliens the land which he conquered and developed. The man of the old stock is being crowded out of many countries' districts by these foreigners, just as he is today being literally driven off the streets of New York City by the swarms of Polish Jews. Hey, did we have a problem with the whole Jewish thing a couple years after 1916? Anyway.
Yeah. Something reminds me of that.
A little bit. I remember reading a book. These immigrants adopt the language of the Native American. They wear his clothes. They steal his name. They are beginning to take his women, but they seldom adopt his religion or understand his ideals. While being elbowed out of his own home, the American looks calmly abroad and urges on others to the suicidal ethics which are exterminating his own race. Wait a minute. You just listed to me everything the modern day racist kind of says that they want these immigrants to do. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. They adopt the language. They wear your clothes. They take your name. They're beginning to take your women. Okay, well, you want them to integrate, right? Okay, well, it's intergender.
I just don't want to be my woman.
Yeah, right? Like, it was somehow like, because that woman wants you, pal. You probably don't shower. I'm just taking a guess. Anyway, this is nothing new in America, and especially in American politics.
Religion, understand, but they do all that, but they seldom adopt his religion or understand his ideals, right? Which again is their ideals and their religion are both fucking bullshit. So.
Well, land of the free, home of the brave, a land of immigrants. Give us you're tired, you're sick, you're old, you're poor. Okay, well, those are the ideals of the land, right? Right? And that's why my grandparents came here. That's no lie. They had a choice. They probably could have went to Canada. I could have been Canadian, eh?
Hey.
So that's what's going on here, right? And I know that went long, but I'm trying to do a little bit of a different format. I'm thinking I like the longer conversation up in the front. But not that this isn't a short conversation, but I think we can kind of move in a quicker pace. Mm-hmm. So here we go. You might have heard that Russia dropped by Ukraine on February 24th for tea and whatever pastries they make there. Right?
Yes.
There's a problem developing with the supply chain because of this. And it's just beginning to be felt. And we're going to talk about all little different ways. Right now, it's beginning to be felt. But it's not just this war. It's also COVID kind of rearing its big head in these situations. But here is a headline from Yahoo, which means they took it from somebody else, which means it's inception here on Topic Thunder, because we normally quote other people's stories. So this is us quoting somebody else's story who's quoted somebody else's story.
From Fortune magazine.
Ooh, because they have a paywall. Thank you, Yahoo. More than 3 months of war and blockaded exports are keeping Ukrainian food products from the world. And UN warns we might be on the cusp of a food shortage.
Oh, good.
The whole world, that is. Before Russia invaded the country, Ukraine was one of the primary providers of several staple crops to world markets, including corn, wheat, maize, and barley. Agricultural products were Ukraine's primary source of export revenue and accounted for nearly 10% of the country's GDP. I recall a couple of shows ago, we put up a little graphic of like the different GDPs and the different areas of growth between Ukraine and Russia, and where Ukraine was rich in a lot of different things like agriculture, like grain, and like precious metals. Russia, we have shoes, we have leather,
We have shoes and cold.
lots of cold. But the war and blockades of Ukrainian port cities have halted global supply chains for these foods, and UN Hunger and Food Security Organization is warning that a food crisis beckons if that case remains in 2023. So we do have to look ahead here, right? But I think in the last couple of years, we don't have to look too far to see what happens present day reverberates into the future, right? 2023, it's just 7 months away.
Yeah.
You will have a food shortage problem. The world. We're not talking about US, we're not talking about Europe, we're not talking about Russia, China. The world. Around 25 million tons of various staple grains are currently sitting in storage units in large port cities such as Odessa, waiting to be shipped to international markets, but they are unable to leave Ukraine because of the ongoing Russian blockade in the Black Sea. Not only that, Russia's not just sitting on this stuff. Russia's stealing this stuff.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, I mean, of course.
This was, I think we've talked about this, but this was a story from Reuters from April 28th. Ukraine accused Russia on Thursday of stealing grain in territory it has occupied, an act which it says increased the threat to global food security posed by the disruptions to spring sowing and blocking of Ukrainian ports during the war. Asked about the allegations, the Kremlin said it had no information on the matter, which is even more funny that they didn't like flat out deny it or even accuse Ukraine of doing it. But
Right.
ships are showing up at ports. I think Egypt now has rejected 3 ships of a Russian origin full of grain, Ukrainian grain, because the Russians are trying to sell it. Syria, we know for sure, has actually taken I guess a boatload of this grain, right? Russia's stealing the world's grain and either blockading it or selling it to their friends. Just think about this and what we just talked about a global food shortage, right?
Right.
So what happens then? You want to talk about climate change? Boy, this show is all about all of the different calamities and things affecting our little window of peace here on this planet, right? Here's a story from CNBC. U.S. and Europe race to improve food supply chains after India bans wheat exports. Now, just a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the insane temperatures down in India right now. Actually, they hit a new high, Ben. I had to do the conversion from Celsius to Fahrenheit, but 49.2 degrees Celsius roughly translates to about 125 degrees Fahrenheit.
God, I thought it was hot at that golf tournament. Fuck.
That's how hot it is in India. So in order to, what they say, secure their food chain for the country, India is banning all grain exports.
I don't blame them.
To a certain extent, absolutely. You know, there's something to be said for making sure that, you know, the homeland's taken care of first, right?
They got there's a lot of fucking people in that country to feed. So
Absolutely. So it's just going to lead to an even bigger calamity. Again, we're talking 6 to 7 months out, maybe, because they're saying 2023. But if I were, all right, I don't want to be an alarmist here. We talk about a lot of crazy things on the show, and there may have been a birdie whispering something in the ear to just make sure you have at least 20 days worth of food in your house. Be able to survive for 20 days, right? Somebody like me, who is an alarmist, even though I'm not an alarmist, but is an alarmist, more of a prepper, spent a whole lot of money on canned goods and a bunch of like survivable food just to make sure. No big deal. But this is the type of stuff we're talking about, because have you heard? It's getting a little hard to get baby formula.
yes, I
And while that really honestly has nothing to do with inflation or Joe Biden or supply chain, it
Or
mainly
$40 billion given to the Ukraine.
nothing. It has nothing to do with any of that. Actually, the truth of the matter is it has something to do with a bacterium that was found in the formula. So they had to do a massive recall. They had to shut down the factory because this bacterium killed 2 babies.
Yes. Well, and on top of that, though, what I found fascinating about this is the most of the formula is made in one factory and goes out to multiple manufacturers. Right. And that is ultimately where the problem lies, is that because there was a contamination in that one factory, it affected all of the major baby formula companies because they all use the same factory. They all use the same factory because capitalism means
Profits.
you have to keep the labor profits low and the labor costs low and the profits high. So if you get together with all your buddies and you say, hey, we all own baby formula companies, we could save a shitload of money that we could then put on our books that our stockholders would be very impressed with, which would then lead to us getting giant bonuses for having record profits. And why don't we just all get together and use this one factory for all of our formula?
Hold on. I got a timeout. Just go ahead. Just stop the show really quick here. I got an idea. Why don't we like centralize production for this like formula, right? Like that start multiple companies and sell it like all these different brands and all these different markets. Everybody loves us, right? We'll pick a nice place. I don't know. Let's just say Michigan. People fucking love shit like this in Michigan, right? We'll buy the ground. We'll do a nice little groundbreaking ceremony. Some fucking mayor gets a golden shovel, cuts a ribbon, shit like that. Nice. We're not gonna pay for that factory. We'll get tax breaks. We'll get the state and the county and the city or whatever. We'll pay. We won't even pay utilities.
We're creating jobs.
We're creating jobs, right? Good paying jobs, and we'll open that up to our labor stream.
Manufacturing jobs.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you know how that operation goes. You've been there. You know what we're talking about here. So, okay. All right. So as long as we're okay with making sure that we put profits over the health and nutrition of babies.
Yeah, because like, what happens if that one factory? If something bad happens to that one factory, what happens to all the formula?
That'll never happen.
Well,
that's never happened before. It won't happen.
1 in a million.
Listen,
you know what? That's like happening. That's like the grid, the power grid in Texas getting so cold that it freezes. It's never going to happen.
It's really funny you say that because the lovely lady and I were watching this show on Netflix about the meltdown at 3 Mile Island. And they seemingly built all these nuclear power plants without really knowing what could go wrong. And they had no idea if something did go wrong, what they would do. It was fantastic. We don't have to worry about that though with our baby formula plant because it's not going to happen. It's impossible, right? So let's not even worry about that. Let's just go get the money. Okay, you could start the show again.
Yes. So then what happens is you have this one area and then what happens is you have to shut down this factory. And then there's suddenly no formula out there. Then there becomes a run on formula. And then there's the capitalistic assholes that, just like they did with toilet paper back a couple of years ago with the beginning of the pandemic, they buy it all up so that they can resell it on Facebook and on social media and make fucking profit because that's, there's a shortage of baby formula? Let me go and buy all of it at my local fucking store. And then I'll put it on fucking Facebook and sell it for 3 times as much because these poor moms need to have fucking shit for their babies.
Babies got to eat, right? But that's just one element of this supply chain issue. Check this out. We're talking about inflation. What are the undervalued costs of getting something to your shelves at your grocer or local store? Is the transportation cost, right? We still use trucks as the main method of transportation in this country, right? And any increase in fuel diesel in this particular sense gets passed along to us, right? That's a lot of miles. That's a lot of fuel, right? What happens if there's a diesel fuel shortage? Because apparently that's starting to happen on the East Coast.
Oh, good.
Our main artery, the main blood vessel of American commerce, the 18-wheeler, right? Well, we're running into what might be not only being outpriced for like the daily operator, but just running out of diesel mix, period. And this is from WBAL-TV 11. News spoke with truck drivers Thursday in Hagerstown, where there's a real sense of worry over the possibility of diesel fuel shortages. Quote, "We're really headed for a bad situation if we can't get this fixed," said Joe Kane, a truck driver. "As an owner-operator, you might have to stop driving at all, but I might have to get work or do something else. Well, we don't know. We might end up on unemployment." Like, that's the worst thing ever. Like, oh. Anyway, that's what it's there for. That's why you pay taxes. Anyway, to me, I think that's wrong the way they're doing things. The government needs to step in. The truck association needs to do something about this. That was Gerald Herring, a truck driver. I understand that we're in a COVID situation and all that, but at the same token, they have to come up with some kind of solution to solve this problem so we can move on in America. Gerald Herring, have you ever heard of renewable fuels?
Right. We're working on it.
Have you ever considered putting solar panels on the top of your owner-operated trailer to generate a constant flow of electricity to a massive amount of batteries on your rig that you will no longer have to stop and get fuel at a diesel stop? You could just plug in at a local, what was that nice, really great rest stop that you visited?
Oh, Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's. And a nice rest stop like Buc-ee's. You plug in your big rig and you get a nice sleep and you recharge and you move on. It's like they haven't heard of renewable fuels or the move towards them. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, John Oliver. Energy companies are suing corporations who are attempting to use solar panels. Yes, they do not want. They're going to do everything they can to fight renewable energy, different energy technology, every step of the way. And the best part is that they're failing. They're failing because there are advances every single day in the electric motor department. These car and truck companies, even the massive truck companies like Volvo, not only makes cars but they also make semi trucks. They're already using their technology that they have in their Volvo cars, in their electric Volvo cars, and they're now trying to see how they can move that technology to their semi trucks. I mean, it's coming, whether these people like it or not. And this just shows again why the investment into alternative fuels and alternative energies is worth it. Because if we put our mind to something without looking at the cost short term and we just say we want to accomplish this goal, we can accomplish the goal. And we don't have to worry about diesel being $5 a gallon. Doesn't matter because I don't use it. You don't feel the inflation on something that you don't use. If you're never spending the money on it, then you never feel the inflation that goes with it.
Renewables like gasoline and diesel should be reserved for antique cars. Certain, I'm sure that there's a transportational need for a certain amount of it, but you can obviously there's the benefits
needed in manufacturing, right? And there is always going to be a need for fossil fuels, but it is the reliance on fossil fuels that is the problem. The heavy reliance in. And this is a perfect example laid out in front of us. We need to be looking at alternative fuels as a realistic thing. We just put our fucking minds to it. We just put our dollars towards it. We put our best minds on it. We'll figure it out in less than 5 years.
So the last thing I want to bring up, because I guess this part of the conversation is not so much about a food shortage or COVID or anything, but it's really about like how our supply chain is kind of jacked up, right? In a lot of ways, it's very much way too centralized, and for critical things, there are no viable backups. Here's a story that has honestly shocked me that has not gotten enough press, and I googled 3 words: radiology contrast shortage. The only newspaper, any kind of print media that I found that covered the story that wasn't the American Hospital Association, RSNA, the American College of Radiologists, like a dedicated publications, the only one was the legendary Terry Boers Detroit Free Press by Cracky. Long live Terry Boers. So I felt like this was something we can cover, and I give personal experience that there is a shortage of what we call a contrast that we introduce into patients intravenously in a lot of critical exams and a lot of routine ones as well. Because the factory that makes this is in Shanghai, and Shanghai has been shut down for over 30 days now. So that the factory has not been able to produce a chemical called ihexol. It's called Omnipaque on the shelf, right? And what it does in radiology terms is it makes things that you normally can't see, like soft tissue, vasculature, really stand out in like an X-ray or a CT, MRI, right? So all this is an iodine-based contrast. It's basically made in one place. It's a GE product, and it's used everywhere. There's a critical shortage of this.
What did we just had this conversation, it feels like 30 seconds ago, about how if you make one thing in one place and that's where everybody gets that thing, and something goes wrong at that one place, it causes a fucking problem for everyone. But it's done again in the name of fucking capitalism and profit. I mean, why are we relying on this dye to have to come from China? Why aren't we producing it here if it's so fucking important here? Oh, I know why. Because we don't want to pay people to do it.
And I'm sure there's a lot of factors, right? For sure. And GE's free to make their stuff wherever they want, because ultimately what's happened now, and I can tell you from a boots on the ground level, I have had to read the labels of these things and make sure that like we can find a solution for this, because we use this in X-ray.
Right.
We use these dyes to rule out a whole lot of very, very important things. And in a CT land type of scan where you're having a stroke or a blockage of your arteries, these dyes are critical to determine where that is in your body. When in an interventional radiology procedure where they can fish a wire in through an artery in your thigh up to your brain and unclog an artery, and the only way they know where they're going is because they inject this dye. That's critically important. And like you said, you can't allow one place to make all of it, which is what's happened. So here's the nightmare scenario, right? Now we've rationed all of it. Every department had to come up with alternative exams. Like you can only order this if it's clearly a stroke scenario. Like all of it got literally moved to a central location and is doled out. It is metered out while we source out alternatives, like every other hospital and healthcare system around the world is doing right now.
Right.
Where everybody's
I mean?
going to buy up all the competitors. Everybody's going to buy up everything. We're going to have nothing left because of this supply chain problem, right? Just
Capitalism is breaking down and failing in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. I know I posted something on my social media, on my Facebook page, I think last week. It was a meme of the guy that has the tuba over the person's face, blowing into the tuba. And it's me yelling, "Capitalism is at the root is the problem of everything." Capitalism is the root of all the fucking problems, and you could trace it back. It all comes back down to it. It's the root of the evil, and yes, it feels like it has been a successful system because we are talking on this fucking computer from 2 different cities, and we both have the free time and the means in order and to buy the equipment in order to do this. And it seems like this has been a successful experiment, but it is broken. And it is
Be
very
better.
broken, and we can do better. We can do better. We can. Why are we still relying on a system that was invented and created for an amount of people that was a fraction of what we have now? I mean, it is so obviously flawed that for me I can't believe that everybody doesn't see it the same way I see it. It's so obvious what the problem is. It's so obvious that it's there, and so many people just choose to be like, well, my life is good, so I don't, capitalism is great.
And that's the problem, right? Because you got that house, you got that job, you got that family, you got the 2.5 kids, and a hobby or whatever, and where's all this shit happening? It doesn't matter to me. Well, you can't buy baby formula anymore. All right, it's affecting you, right?
We can't properly do CT scans because we don't have the proper fucking doctor.
Yeah, your dad could possibly die of a situation because because if they just had enough of this contrast to run the scan, they could have saw something. But because there's a shortage and he wasn't presenting with the exact right indications, old dad got skipped over for the what they call the CTA angio, right? Yes. Feel like we're dragging it out maybe a little bit, but it's not a Topic Thunder until I tell you what's out in space.
We don't have the fucking ELE.
We don't, just to remind you why sometimes it's like these little things like capitalism and the idea of money and profits like really kind of don't matter.
Correct. Cool.
This was my good friend Lawrence Tribe, and this was just yesterday. NASA revealed a 1,600-foot asteroid will make a close approach today. The giant space rock is predicted to be 1,608 feet wide. No need to panic, as though the asteroid 388945 or 2008 TZ3 should pass from a distance of about 3.5 million miles at 18,000 miles per hour.
We dodged another bullet.
I want to show you what happens when you don't dodge a bullet, because that next picture, Ben, is what happens when a half an ounce of plastic hits a block of aluminum going 15,000 miles an hour.
Okay, hit this again. What is it?
This is half an ounce. So that's a block of aluminum, and they shot a half ounce bullet of plastic at 15,000 miles an hour. A half ounce of plastic is 14 grams. So remember last week how we talked about how much plastic, or 2 weeks ago, how much plastic we ingest?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, it's a credit card's worth. It's 5 grams. So a credit card is 5 grams of plastic. So 3 credit card grams of plastic worth of a bullet shot at 15,000 miles per hour. Something that small, not 1,600 feet wide, going in approximate speed.
Right, like what the fuck would that do? Yeah.
Oh, exactly. So scale that out. And that will be your Broox Ellie moment of the show.
God damn it. You always frighten us every week. Weekly Ellie. Is that what it is? Ellie or ELE?
I like Ellie because that's what they are. If we go back to the show, the movie Deep Impact with I can't think of his name right now. COVID. I'll blame COVID brain. But that was what they called it. She thought the president, the reporter thought the president was having an affair because he kept talking about Ellie and Ellie and Ellie. And Ellie stood for Extinction Level Event. And Morgan Freeman. And Morgan Freeman like, no, you idiot. It's just an acronym. And movie's over.
Weekly ELE. Weekly ELE with Brooks. Yeah.
So I just like to remind you every once in a while there's stuff out there that doesn't care about our little squabbles down here. Just saying. So we're experiencing a huge drought. We've got our own problems here with water and temperature, right? This was sent in by our good friend Ryan Hansen. Lake Mead.
Terrifying.
Oh, yeah. Lake Mead is like the biggest body of water just east of Las Vegas. It basically is why Las Vegas can exist, because Las Vegas is just in the middle of a desert. So this body of water is slowly receded because of the drought and has exposed not one, but two, but several bodies, some of which have been at the bottom since the 1980s.
Yeah, you got to imagine there's a lot of mob bodies at the bottom of Lake Mead, right? A lot of gamblers with debts.
A lot of people that maybe said too many things or saw too many things, participated in too many things.
Holy shit. You can imagine they're going to pull bodies out of that fucking bitch forever.
It'd be like if you drain Lake Michigan. Like, it'd be
Like,
a problem. It's like a zombie army down there waiting to happen. Just
rise up out of the water.
Yeah, all of it. Just be a big problem. So just don't drain Lake Michigan. Yeah. Speaking of something that's terrifying, I found this to be really interesting. This was from Rolling Stone, and this apparently, these are quotes from our former president, who basically was scared of fruits and vegetables. And I found this to be so entertaining that I wanted to share it with you all. A partial transcript of several pages of the former president discussing the potential that various produce items would be hurled at him during a speech. Trump had asked to confirm whether he told people during a February 2016 rally in Iowa to knock the crap out of anyone they see, quote, getting ready to throw a tomato. Trump confirmed he made the comment, although he said it was partially in jest and that the comment was directed to the audience, not his security. It was very dangerous, Trump said. He went on to say and claim we had a threat that people were going to throw fruit at him and that they were going to hit hard. This is now a direct quote from former president. Again, remind you, the president of the United States can order nuclear strikes. Okay. And you get hit with the fruit. It's very violent stuff. We are on an alert for that. It's worse than tomato. It's other things also. But the tomato is very dangerous. You can get killed by those things, Trump added. Trump then listed some of the things that could have been worse than a tomato after he was asked what he would expect security to knock the crap out of somebody that thought they had thrown a tomato. Well, a tomato, a pineapple, a lot of things they throw. I think they have to be aggressive in stopping that from happening, because if that happens, you could be killed if that happens. Just the words.
He also had bananas were also a threat. I love that.
Just the words of a very, very the smartest guy.
Smartest guy in the room right there, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump. Very smart. Smartest.
Gonna get
told he's the smartest.
2 more stories before I get to the moment I know you're all waiting for. And the one I just this one
is amazing. This is our amazing story.
I think actually, if you want to take the reins, because I know you, you're good friends with Tip in Moscow, who sent the story. So if you want to handle,
yeah, please. So this comes from NBC News. How a passenger with no flight experience landed a plane in a nosedive after the pilot passed out. Like, there's like top 3 most terrifying things I can think of, and I think that this is in there. Like, this is awful. The passenger, an executive of an interior design company, pulled off the landing while in flip-flops.
Were they from Costco?
I wonder. Yeah. When passenger Darren Harrison heard his pilot say he wasn't feeling well and saw him suddenly slump over over the controls of the single-engine plane, sending it into a nosedive, he sprung into action. Harris was one of 2 passengers in the Cessna 208 plane flying from the Bahamas to Florida, and the pilot became incapacitated Tuesday afternoon. Despite having no flying experience, Harrison climbed over 3 rows of seats into the cockpit, moved the pilot out of his seat, and scrambled to put on a pair of headphones and make contact with the aircraft traffic control, all while the plane was heading down. Could you imagine how fast his heart was beating as he's panicking and he's moving this slumped body out of the way, and he's like, fuck, what do I do? Fuck, what do I do? What do I do? And put on these headphones. Oh yeah, he was wearing these. An audio call that he made. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, transpose yourself into a situation, and instead of like interior design executive, like automotive dealership executive in a small plane. Correct. Like, think about, you were in a small plane just the other day, right? This would have been you jumping over seats, like bumping into the cabin.
I'm dead. Is what happened. Behind a plane crash.
Not
Yeah.
even an attempt. Not even an attempt.
I would attempt, but like, yeah, I would probably give it an attempt, but I would probably fail. And I would probably.
I think I would think they maybe. I just think they train on the ground to kind of coach people through. But I don't know. Like, I think if you've ever probably played more than 10 years of video games, you might be able to like kind of have the coordination to do it.
I suck at those
Oh.
where it's like you gotta hit the left, but you really want you go right. I'm terrible at the flying games. I'm telling you, that's why I play sports. I suck at flying games, shooting games, and fucking role playing games. I play sports games. That's it.
All right, so I can't invite you to my Morrowind group. Okay, all right, no more. All right. Anyway, before we get to that Thunder Dome favorite, the lightning round, the creatively called lightning round, I saw this, and folks, I'm not gonna lie, you're probably gonna cry. I don't care because it's one of the most touching things I've seen, and I think we need these reminders that they're still good in humanity and that people appreciate the good. So sorry about it, but grab your Kleenex, folks.
Oh wait, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Let me
Hang on.
move this. I don't want it to echo, and I know that if I do this wrong, it will echo on everybody.
We don't want that.
You'll all hate it.
Okay.
What'd you say you miss doing to people?
Oh, hugging them? Yes.
So, a group of my students created this. Here it is. We'll show it. It's just a long strap, and it's called the Hugger. So, you put this on your wrist.
Man developed Parkinson's after a stroke and just wanted to hug his grandkids.
You can give them a hug. Oh, that's so sweet. Great. That's as good as hug. You want to give Rick a hug?
I sure do. Come here, young man.
Oh.
This is the first time I've got to hug my boys. Okay.
What'd you say you miss doing to people?
Oh, hug.
All right.
Son of a
So, not sorry.
Yeah. Again, goddamn. Yeah, I agree. Goddamn you, Brooks.
Yep. Not sorry at all. Just a reminder that, oh, there he is. There he is. And that, ladies and gentlemen, he brought the thunder. We're going to bring you the lightning. What? Ladies and gentlemen, you have entered the Thunderdome, which is part of the lightning round, which means one thing. That 3 headlines will be read. 1 gets read, and you, members of the world's most dangerous chat room, get to choose which stories are going to be read. So as I get my pen ready, I am going to read 3 headlines. Are you ready? No dilly-dally. Here we go. Headline number 1. South Carolina man suffers heart attack and dies while burying the body of his murdered wife. Headline number 2. Woman strips, urinates on the floor of a Georgia Walmart after a profanity-laced tirade, police say. And headline number 3. Couples sue son and daughter-in-law for not bearing children, demand $250,000 or a grandchild.
That's amazing.
Let's do that.
Also, before we repeat them again, I got to put over recording here because this is the greatest description of the show, I think, ever. We start off angry. We stay angry for a while, get a little more angry. Then Brooks scares us. Then he makes us cry. Then we have the lightning.
And then I make you laugh.
Basically the format. Yeah.
And it's a palette of emotions, ladies and gentlemen.
Just
I didn't
the sauce.
I said it would take you places. I didn't say you'd like the places that you would go.
Yes, exactly. All right. So back to the lightning round. We'll repeat those one more time.
Headline number 1. South Carolina man suffers a heart attack, dies while burying the body of his murdered wife.
I don't know how that doesn't.
Headline number 2, woman strips, urinates on the floor of a Georgia Walmart after a profanity-laced tirade, police say.
That's pretty good too, though. God damn.
It's a good one. Couple sue son and daughter-in-law for not bearing children, demand $250,000 or a grandchild.
Man, all three of those are really good. This is one of those weeks where, man, damn. All right, so it looks like Billy Wack has gone with number 1, and Chris is going with number 1. Gigi, I think, is going with the suing parents. But here we go.
Remix.
Double bag it. By the way, here's Ryan Hansen with his headlines. Double bag it. Another day in Florida. Christian relatives. Chuck Davis is voting for number 2.
Number 1.
Ryan Hansen going with number 1 as well.
Get your votes in, ladies and gentlemen. And to remind you that we love that you're on Facebook. It's awesome. But again, Biz is coming in with number 2. If you're wondering that, like, where's the rest of the conversation, or want to get in with a different community, Twitch, just so you know. Wow, there she is, the lovely Adrian. It looks like we're pulling away with headline number 1 here. So the rest of you, if you haven't gotten your votes in now, please do. Ma Jordan stepping in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're on there. I think that's Courtney saying that she's voting for number 1 in her own clever yet dangerous way. So we're going to crown a champion, and that's headline number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is from Trenton, South Carolina, WCIV. A man from a small town in South Carolina died of a heart attack while trying to bury the body of his wife he had strangled inside of their home, according to officials in Edgefield County. Augusta, Georgia-based ABC affiliate WJBF reports that the body of Joseph McKinnon, 60, was found in his Trenton yard Saturday morning. Officials responded to the scene and found a second body, that of 65-year-old Patricia Dent, in a freshly dug pit. Autopsies show that McKinnon died of natural causes while Dent was strangulated and died. Investigators put together a timeline of events. They believe McKinnon attacked Dent while inside the home, wrapped her body in trash bags, and put her in the pit while covering Dent's body with dirt. McKinnon is believed to have suffered a deadly heart attack. That's not waiting for the justice system right there. That's just karma coming right there, right?
Wow. So yeah, exactly. So did he get away with murder? He kind of did, didn't he?
Yeah, but then like it cost him his life because of causation, right? He wouldn't have been like shoveling dirt if he didn't strangle his wife or whatnot, right?
And imagine you roll up on that scene as the first officer on the scene,
right? Flashlight out. It's a broad day, whatever. Flashlight out, hand on the gun, right? Just kind of looking around like, hello, police.
They responded to a report of a body slumped over in the yard, right?
Yes.
If I heard that correctly? So they think that this is just a medical issue. So they're not even a hand on their gun, right? They think it's a medical situation. So they're running up, and he goes up and sir. He's not responsive, and he just glances over, and oh God, there's a fucking body in the hole here. Like you suddenly piece it all together, like holy shit. This killed his wife.
283 to dispatch. There's another body. There's a body in a ditch. 283 to dispatch. Over. Thank you. And then dispatch is 283. What's that again about a body? Yeah, dispatch. There's another body. Like what's the conversation? Like the moment they discover it, right?
I would love for them to release the actual conversation.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? No, I'm not, man. All right, we got to get multiple cards up here. I wanted to read you another one because I think that this second story about the woman urinating in a Walmart is just too precious to let pass by.
It doesn't really happen in Florida. There's no way.
Sometimes we do this on the show. Sometimes we subvert democracy. But like I said, this story from WSBTV.com from Fayetteville, Georgia. Hello. Police have arrested a woman they say stripped and urinated on the floor of the Fayetteville Walmart after going on a profanity-laced tirade through the store and hitting an employee, according to the citizen. Police say April Barrow, 40, were searching for prophylactics on April 29th at around 6:30 a.m. when she started cursing at employees and throwing things at them. Witnesses said she then punched an employee. Witness employee told police Barrow allegedly struck her multiple times in the arm with a closed fist, police said. Witnesses reported to police that Barrow took her clothes off and then urinated on the floor. Employees escorted her from the building. Barrow was putting on her clothes as police arrived. Police were able to see what Barrow did inside the store, like a dog. Like, did they rub her nose in it? Like, look what you did. What you did. She was charged with 2 counts of simple battery, public indecency, and disorderly conduct.
By the way, I think we learned something about Gigi here tonight.
That she likes to pee in a Walmart. Can confirm.
She's found herself disheveled in a Walmart looking for prophylactics at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh, I thought you meant she pees on the floor.
Well, maybe that too.
I don't know.
By the way, I agree that it has to be on video. There has to be video of this woman pissing on the floor, and I'm here for it. I need to see that.
All of it. I want the police like cam video.
Punching the employee. I want
with a closed fist. They had to be very specific.
Throwing prophylactic boxes everywhere.
What?
I want the thin ones.
Want the red for my pleasure. 6:30 in the morning in a Walmart. You've already put yourself in a class of people that is such a small percentage of America. Oh man, you never fail to impress us anywhere below the Mason-Dixon line, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, for real, that was like her revenge. It was like, and why take off all your clothes if you're just gonna pee? Right. You don't need to take it unless it was like a romper or some shit like that. I know what a romper is, but hey,
I mean the odds that the lady was on meth are pretty high.
I would say so. But the odds are like, yeah, you wouldn't take the odds on that. So that's just my betting. You're my betting guru, so I don't bet. You don't say to. But you bet on us for an entertaining episode of Topic Thunder. We hope we delivered here, ladies and gentlemen, this fine Monday evening. Thanks for your participation and for the good time. Ladies and gentlemen, join us next week for Topic Thunder aboard the always resilient USS Rapapa.